Hi, everyone, and welcome back to SEO Plus. Today, I'm super excited to be here with Helene Jelenc. Helene is just launched a creative content marketing agency called Wallflower Studios. She has an education background in anthropology, which she uses to elevate her SEO and content creation. And we're here to learn more about that today. Hi, Helene.
Hello.
How are you?
Thanks for having me. I'm good. How are you?
Great. This is a very interesting approach to SEO, and we're happy to learn. Like, learn more about your anthropology background and how were you able to take it to use it and apply it in SEO as well. So
Yeah, sure. I can talk about this. I actually got into anthropology in the middle of my university. I was studying music education and realized I did not have the patience to be a teacher. I took an anthropology course. I really liked it. Took a second one, and I was like, oh, I really like this. So I got my bachelor's in applied anthropology, which was really great because I was able to learn how to use anthropology in the real world. And so at the end of that degree, I went to Washington, D.C., where I did public policy research. And so I was utilizing the skills that I learned to help influence research to help pass legislation for the federal government. And then I got a master's in anthropology at another university, and then I sort of was like, you know what? I'm not sure I want to get into like an office job. I'm just going to go. So I started traveling and moving around. I lived in several different countries. I started freelancing online back when people literally had no idea what that was. They were like, I don't get it. What do you mean you work online? So I was doing like writing, editing, data entry, transcription, all the way up until like content creation became a thing. And I was already doing little bits of that, not realizing it. It was a growing industry. And then I started a travel blog years ago, got really into it. And I was like, well, I don't want to put ads on my site. I don't know how to get people here. And then I was like, how do I get people to my website? And then I learned about SEO. So I got really interested in it. The more I read about it, the more I was interested. I was like, wow, this is a great tool. And I think it goes along with anthropology in a way. And I got so into it, I started teaching workshops, teaching, consulting like local companies about using it. Met a friend at a travel content creator conference 2 years ago, and we just started working together, and we really got on. And so we started the studio, and here I am.
wow, what a journey!
Yeah.
So how do you apply anthropology to SEO?
So there's a few different ways that this can be done. Probably one aspect for me, it's just my perspective. Like studying anthropology, you really get this kind of step out of yourself and observe things, try to understand things from different perspectives, try to understand, the Western culture is not the basis of the whole world. And really thinking about this can help you to understand that there's different relationships going on. You can understand the culture of your customers better so that you can work with them and make them happy, or your target audience or your clients, or even in your company, like understanding that culture, understanding what's important to people, and it can really help you to navigate all of those relationships. And SEOs have to deal with a lot of different relationships with like different language. I like to talk about like an SEO talking to a developer versus an SEO talking to a client is completely different sort of
Yes.
way to talk about stuff. And that's sort of like a culture, that's like a linguistic thing. And as an anthropologist, I'm really fascinated in how this all works together. So, in a sense, I use it as like a unique perspective, I guess. But I also find it really, really useful for actually doing, SEO content creation. So one way to do that is through doing like literature reviews, doing your own sort of research. You can use this stuff to then create comprehensive content. There's so many incredible sources for academic research that is vetted and it's proper. There's lots of data out there, like the census data in the US. EU has their own, which I'm spacing on, or what it's called right now. I think it's Eurostat. Um, And you can utilize all of these tools to kind of understand and get deeper. So I guess because I come from this academic background and this really research heavy background, I bring that into SEO. Like I'm not just like, oh, I saw this in the keywords and I'm gonna put this. Like I go deep into the
Wow.
research
I mean,
before.
what I see, I feel this is like a very good opportunity if you want to create a unique piece of content and a lengthy content as well, like very in depth.
Yeah,
Because I feel like sometimes what happens is that the copywriter just reads the first few results for the topic, and they just sort of rewrite it and summarize it and add a bit of bit of pieces and bits here and there, and which is okay. I mean, but the way you describe it and the mindset that you're using is actually helping you create something very in depth and very unique.
yeah,
The fact that you also are using resources that are not very commonly used, like academics and census data and that sort of thing. And how I see is that this is actually helping and making your content even more valuable, because these are your resources and they're very reliable, and they're probably all .edu and .gov
hmm,
websites. And I also see that there's a lot of opportunity from this technique in getting backlinks, because if your
yeah.
content is so unique, and build on research, and you have like new approach to that topic, it would definitely help you get other websites linking back to you.
Yeah, exactly. Especially if you're using a mixed methods approach, which is very popular in anthropology. So maybe you're using that census data to pull some numbers, just aggregate things, and then you're like, okay, this is a really interesting picture. But then what do you say about it? Like, you don't understand the individual lived experience, but if you take time to then interview some people, then you can have a story. So you have a story and you have the numbers. So you can definitely increase your opportunities to, yeah, get backlinks with original research and get high placements. And a lot of people think also like they don't know how to cite these sources. I will literally just include it in the bottom of an article. I'll write sources and I will do it just like academic style. And I've done this successfully. I've ranked first for this, doing this type of work. Like it's, you don't necessarily need the link, but I provide the link if it's there. So,
This is really good because we are right now. I get asked very often, people saying, "What do you think of AI software writing content?" Like yeah, I can write content, right? But how good is that? How real is that content, right? It's
exactly.
and how I mean it's an automated or a piece of software writing content. I cannot imagine it's being like creative or human like. It can be good, but it wouldn't be able to execute any of the I'm assuming it cannot execute on the same level you're talking about here. And I also liked when where you mentioned different cultures and different perspectives, because this I what I see that or what I'm hearing is that this would be very useful when we're talking about localization and
Yes.
internationalization, because even when we're talking about US and UK audience and both speaking English, it's still a different culture,
Yeah.
and understanding this culture and trying to and I feel it's challenging sometimes when people are building a website with a US and a UK version and a Canadian version even, and you want the content to be localized in a way that it's still in English, but how can you make it still relevant to the local population or to the local culture? So that's an approach. I feel it would be very useful in those situations. I feel that would be very valuable.
Yeah. If you want to get a really, say you're doing local SEO, and you're working for, let's say, I don't know, a dentist, and they want to have some city pages. And you want to create that useful piece of content for those city pages, but you might not really understand those places because you haven't been there. See, there are Facebook groups for like every town possible, and there are people there with opinions. And you can actually go into these groups, read it, see what they say about other businesses, maybe even ask them, like, who is your favorite dentist in town and why, or like, who would you recommend? And then you can get to know a bit about what's going on there because there might be some history or politics that you don't necessarily know.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good point as well. And if you mention that sort of things in your content, it makes it more local and more
Hmm.
relevant to the user that you're targeting. So, and because I myself, see how hard it is to localize content in this way, in this manner. I do appreciate this approach, the thinking that way, this mindset, and the way you're thinking. I really like that. Do you have like like first person like me who've never used this approach? Like, do you have like any form of like a checklist or steps or some like something I can follow to try this if I want to create like a piece of content for a specific city? How would I go about it? Like how would I approach that?
There's it's different ways. It depends where it is. So typically for me, I would just go start on Wikipedia, read about the history, read about the town.
Regardless of the topic you're reading about, the culture itself or the place
Yeah,
itself.
I just read. I don't. If I'm working, yeah, doing a moving company, I'm just reading about the history and the culture of that town. I'm reading forums. Lots of people post on like Reddit or other localized forums. There's lots of like mom forums that people are really active on,
Yeah.
especially like really if you're worried about like schooling or things that involve families or moving or children, like though that valuable information is there. There's lots of blogs now where people are writing locally about, different businesses or different things about the culture. And so you can just do these things by just reading different pages online. But then, like I said, you can take it a step further and go into these groups and read and interact with people, which is participant observation, which is like a special anthropology method. So you're participating and you're observing. You can take notes on this. You can ask them questions if you want. You can get in there, and if you find someone who is maybe really knowledgeable about everything, there's always that one person that's just like on top of it, and they're easygoing. You find that person, and then maybe have a conversation with them and ask them, because you don't need everybody to tell you. Someone there, you can usually feel it out. Who is being
Yeah,
sincere,
yeah.
and
And
then
you
just
can
have
also
a conversation.
ask, and you can actually also ask them for a quote. Like if you're writing something and I would like a quote on that topic, like what do you think of, for example, the moving costs in the city, for example, right?
Hmm.
Or you can also take a quote and add it to your article, and
Yeah,
again, that would be very, very. I mean, it would make the article really, really valuable.
yeah.
And I know it's hard to translate that in like some SEOs like to think of that in a in a ranking factor things like, but it's not that way when you're trying to actually provide very useful and very valuable piece of content to the user. And what I've like I had one time in the past where I wrote a piece of content on window in the really really old time when I was still writing content on a window what's it called, a window something service, some sort of a window
Yeah.
I don't know if I remember the keyword. Anyways, and I remember using codes and using the locals' opinions and that sort of thing. And this actually was, even though it wasn't a bottom of funnel topic, it did cause a lot or get a lot of conversions to the company that I was doing SEO for. So I do really think this is a very good approach. That if someone wants to take their content to the next step or the next level, that is something they would really consider doing.
Yeah, it's basically
Valuable,
just doing research.
yeah. I mean, research and adding the people component, actual
Hmm.
actual people interaction component to the content would make it actually valuable and would actually make people who read this more willing to move on to the purchase stage and actually make the purchase. And I've actually seen that so in person. So this is why when you mentioned this now, I feel that wow, this is something we uh, should try to incorporate into our content strategy, definitely.
Yeah, yeah, it's and it can go in different directions. I also work with a SaaS company that has a plugin for urban planners and architects, which I am not. And I was doing I do their content creation. I was like, okay, what am I gonna say? I don't know anything about this. I don't know what architects and urban planners, what's important to them. What do they like? I don't want to sound awkward in this. So I read everything I could. I was reading once again like basic information about it just so I understood what the terms were. I like combed through all of the material from the company. But then I also interviewed the people that work there, and I talked to them, and I said, explain, like, what do you do? How do you feel about this project? What does it help you with? I wanted them to say, like, what are the pain points that they're really excited about that it solves? What are they excited about? What's motivating them with this piece of software? And I was able to use these things to then create, the right cultural language to talk about it. So yeah, you can do it even to the client and then create content
Yeah,
for
yeah.
them.
Making the content more human.
Yeah.
The human component is make it relevant, make it, yeah, it's relevant in every way, like in cultural way, in human way, like other people, what other people are saying. I really think that's a very good approach.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Helene, and I'm so happy with this discussion because it gave me a lot of it gave me, it's an eye opener to a thing that it's sort of, and as in SEO sometimes you become like, it becomes like a content creation machine, more of
Mhm.
a, and I feel it's good that we're opening this discussion so whoever is watching and may just, take a minute, stop and think about the type of content they're recommending and how can we make it better. And this was one way to make it, convert or cause lead to conversions better. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you.